Hello and welcome to Let's Talk About It. This is your host, Taylor, and today I'm joined with a fan favorite from Bachelor Nation. Welcome to the show, Blake.
Thank you for having me, Taylor. Looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, same. So we have met just once.
Yeah.
We met in Denver right as like quarantine stuff was starting to happen. I remember I was like kind of nervous. I was like, do I go to Denver? Do I not?
That's right. Was that in March or was that like the end of February?
Yeah, that was like the
One
first
of those,
week
right
of
around
March.
there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right there in your hometown. And I know, I mean, obviously a lot of people know you from Bachelorette and then from Paradise. Probably Paradise is fresh in their memory. Yes. Yes. And we had some really good conversations just around dating and around sex. So hoping to kind of dig into that a little bit more with you today, because I think that there's a lot like people were asking me my thoughts on everything when Paradise happened, and I don't share a lot when it comes to like Bachelor recap stuff. But I think I definitely saw your perspective in a lot of things. And looking back, I'm like, I probably should have spoken up. I probably should have said some things because there was a lot in there. But curious if you could just talk a little bit about like, you know, where you're at now, like when you look back at that time, if there's things that you learned. And now that I'm thinking about it, there's probably people listening that maybe didn't watch or don't know what happened in Paradise. True. So maybe just in your perception and your version, what happened there?
Paradise was more or less a shit show for me. It was, I went down to Paradise. I think I don't want to be like douchey here, but like I think I was like, I was the first guy down on the beach. Let's put it that way.
You were very highly desired coming off of Bachelorette. You can
okay, I didn't know how to put that into words. Yes, highly desired. But yeah, I don't know. So first guy down on the beach, and I mean, Stagecoach. I should just start there, I guess. Everything happened. Everything went wrong at Stagecoach.
This is titled episode Stagecoach.
Everything went wrong at Stagecoach. It was so basically. I don't know how far to go back here because me and Christina had dated in the past for like probably about 2.5 months, way back, like November of 18, December of 18. So way back, and it didn't work out, for multiple reasons, but we more or less stayed friends with benefits probably only like 3 other times the rest of the year. One of those times happened to be at Stagecoach, the Friday night of Stagecoach weekend. And then the Saturday of that same weekend at Music Fest Stagecoach. Kaylin also, it was like a 4 a.m. kind of text, and we ended up hooking up as well. Obviously, I wasn't trying to play with any hearts. It was very casual. Both of them, all of us involved, it was just sex, nothing more, nothing less. But then the second I got down to, nobody had a problem with it until we got down in front of cameras on the beach. And then suddenly I was, a monster and basically a predator, if you will. I was edited to be basically like a sexual predator almost. So it was really hard. It was really hard what I went through. Some language was used, some false accusations, some lies thrown in, a lot of different things happened to make the show, get the views, and make me into some kind of villain. And it was really hard. I'm not gonna lie, it was really hard. There's a lot of mistakes. Obviously, I made things I wish I would have said, would have done. But like looking back at it, I remember I sat down with a friend, Kevin. I guess you guys know Kevin Went. Yeah. And he was just like, he knew. Like it was actually saw him in Montreal the day they gave me the episodes pre-recorded. So before they were aired, I had started seeing the episodes, and I was like, oh my god, this is incredible what's happening. Like they're trying to just destroy my life, like so the things in there aren't true. He was basically like, this is going to be hard. Like what you're about to go through is going to be hard. And it was very hard, very hard. But if I had to start all over again from the beginning of The Bachelorette to where I'm at now, I'd probably still do it. I would. I'd probably still go through the ups and downs. I think I learned a lot. Had a lot of great opportunities that I've, had and stuff like that. So I'd probably still like do all of this over again, but that doesn't take away from how hard Paradise was for me and everything.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, the whole like Bachelor drama of it doesn't necessarily, interest me here, but just the concepts around what went down, right? Mm-hmm. Around dating, that, you know, you're with one person one night and with another person the next night. And what are the expectations of that, right? What are the interpretations of that? What kind of communication is happening around that time? You know, you said that for you, it was something that was really casual. Do you feel that that was like explicitly communicated?
Yes. Yes. And unfortunately I had to drop proof of that because you know, she said, Caitlin didn't say it wasn't, when she was actually the one saying that it was just sex, nothing more, nothing less, and that everybody in this world looks up. So not only was I very clear, but she was also very clear. It wasn't like, you know, one of those things where sometimes, and I got this a lot, was like, well, women just try and act cool, you know, and act cool. It's like, I get that to a degree. If she wasn't saying the thing she was, like, not only was I supposed to read her mind, but also ignore the words she was saying as well, you know, and that's kind of like a hard thing for me. But yeah, both of them. I remember me and Christine in the morning, we like fist pumped. It was like, good luck in paradise. Like, it was a completely no, you know, so that was really frustrating for me, watching it back and seeing the things they were saying. And I was like, except Christina didn't really, but yeah, I was just like shook.
Yeah, I imagine. I mean, it was, I'm sure, very, very difficult to watch all that back and just to experience it too and be like, holy shit, this is going to be a whole freaking thing. And I think when it comes to, you know, casual sex or hookups, that it's a lot easier for men to talk about publicly. It's a lot easier for men to kind of be like, yeah, you know, like we just got it in that night and like that was it, than it is for girls to even share that privately, let alone publicly, to be like, yeah, I just really enjoyed having casual sex. I didn't expect a relationship to come from that at all.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened. And so they more or less kind of twisted the story to make, well, obviously to protect themselves. But yeah, it was very frustrating, to say the least, to watch, knowing what I knew and what had been said to me. And even like some of the people who I thought were more or less my friends, you know, I mean, I know there's no real friends in Bachelor Nation, to be completely honest.
It's hard.
It's very hard. There's very few. But watching some of the things that people said down on that beach too about me, and I know you've been to Paradise. It's a really hard environment. And like, you know, you either bully or get bullied. So it's like a very hard environment down there. And I think people saw me getting bullied and kind of like hopped on the train. We're like, wait a minute. If he's the villain, that means I can't be the villain. Like, let's get him. Let's kick him out. So it's like a whole thing, you know? So that was
I mean, that was it. Weirdly, I mean, that was more my experience on Bachelor than it was on Paradise.
Oh, really?
But yes, I feel that. All right, so time for a short break right here. You all have heard me talk about them before on the podcast, but I want to share BetterHelp so that you all can get high quality access to some licensed professional therapists in a safe, online, private environment that is really, really convenient. You can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. You take a short little quiz and it will help pair you up with someone. And if it doesn't feel like it's the right fit, then with no questions asked, no problem whatsoever, you can get switched to someone else. And honestly, right now, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they are actually recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. So those of you who are licensed professional counselors and are looking to increase your caseload, definitely check them out because they're recruiting. So I really, really want to encourage all of you who are maybe thinking about getting help or want to help others to check out BetterHelp. As a listener, you will get 10% off your first month of counseling services by visiting betterhelp.com/talkaboutit. You can join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/talkaboutit. And start getting help today. You don't have to wait until whatever it is. You can literally start today. So I hope that this helps and provides a little bit of encouragement for you. And also a reminder that it's okay to get help. It's okay to not be okay all the time. You're not a robot. With all of this said, we can get back to the show now. I'm wondering if you at all felt like, you know, the hate that you got and the bullying that you got, if that was around any form of like being slut shamed in a way, or if it was just kind of like, you know, you treated these girls badly, or if it was like, you're a man whore.
Definitely more of the like slut shame man whore thing. I think, and the hardest part for me too was the hypocrisy of a lot of it. Because I knew people down there on that beach who did way worse things than me. And I knew like people on that beach would sleep with each other like multiple times, you know, so it was just, I felt like I was a bit of a scapegoat in a way, you know, because there were a lot of things that I knew, and watching what the producers did and stuff, it was hard for me because I was, you know, and everybody blamed me that in defending myself, you know, I slut shamed Kaylin. And it was like, that was very frustrating for me because then it was like, only did I get slut shamed, then they accused me of slut shaming. And it was a whole thing of like the double standard almost. Like there's a bit of a double standard when it comes, like, especially in Bachelor Nation, which I think is, I mean, it's about time women are like, you know, like not congratulated, but are open about sex and are allowed to have, you know, be open about sex. But at the same time now, if Hannah B the season before, you know, was applauded for like doing what she did. And I loved that. And I thought it was fantastic. And then literally a month later, I do the same thing, you know, not in any kind of relationship, being completely honest, being completely open with all of them. And I'm this like monster, you know? So I think that was a huge thing for me watching was the slut shaming. It was hard.
Yeah. Well, and it's always a different, like, people see it differently when it's in a relationship or when a relationship is the intended outcome of the sexual engagement. Like, especially for women, it's applauded in that way. But when it's, you know, the opposite of that, it's like, that's not what you should be doing. And as you're saying, like, it's about time, you know, that women can speak about this publicly. Can we talk about a DM exchange that we recently had?
Yeah.
Because it's one of my favorites. I was like, that makes me so happy. Because Blake, like, you know that I do talk about this stuff openly. And so you were like, I don't think you're going to be offended by this.
I was like, I know I can say this to you because you won't be offended.
Yes. But there's an adult film star, Scarlett Scandal, and she's like absolutely wonderful. I love her. And one of my Toronto lover had shared her with me like a few weeks, maybe even like a few months before you sent her to me, and was like, oh, like, she really reminds me of you. And then you sent it and you're like, has anyone ever told you that you look like her?
Yeah. I was like, did I ever told you that? And I was like, I know that she's going to take this as a compliment. So
yes, it was an absolute compliment. And I mean, I could go off on a whole rant about like why that's so important, like that I can identify with her and see her in that. But maybe we talk about your porn choices, Blake. But no, I appreciate you sharing like your, you know, reflections on that, because I know it was a super hard time. And I'm wondering if you're comfortable going here at all, if any of this triggered any kind of like sexual shame from the past. Like, I don't know if you had ever experienced or how sexual shame presented itself before all of this, like how you felt you were with your sexuality and dating and everything growing up, and even, you know, pre-Bachelorette. Like, did this trigger anything for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. You know, actually, I've always been, you know, I guess maybe the way I was raised and like my family and everything. Like, I remember the first person to give me a condom was my grandma when I was like 14, you know, and she was like, you know, so like in my family, sex wasn't necessarily like this bad thing. It's like thing that was more or less, you know, villainized. So for me, you know, I've never had to like hide my sexuality. I've never had to hide that part of myself. So I guess that was actually why, in a way, like, as long as you're safe about it, you communicate and you're honest, you know, sex can be a great thing. And I always say the art of casual sex, that can be like a great thing. It's like a thing. Now you have to be, you know, obviously communicate and everything. But I think so. I think when all of that started happening to me down on that beach, and while it was airing, I was a little taken back because I didn't realize how some, you know, sex can be, I guess I was a little sheltered in that sense, that sex can be used as almost like I was this monster just for having sex in general to some people, let alone, you know, two women at a music festival, you know, in the same weekend. It was like I was a monster, and I was getting death threats, and I was like, people were like trying to quote unquote save me, and like all these kinds of things. That was a bit of an eye opener for me, because a lot of people live like that, you know, a lot of people live in that fear of, you know, sexuality and stuff. So it was an eye opener.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I remember seeing like clips of your face, and when I saw the look of shock on your face, I was like, yo, this shit's real for him. Like, that's not like, that's not a, I was trying to play these people and like, it's, I'm getting caught in that. It was legit. You were completely shocked.
Some of the things that were being said, I was like, I just talked to you 4 days ago and you said it wasn't a big deal. And like, you didn't want me to tell anybody when we got down here. And I was complete. And I don't blame, we don't want to talk about producers too much, but like they can manipulate a situation very, very well. Mm-hmm. And they did for all of us involved. So, but it was hard on me because I think they just decided, no, here we go. Blake's the villain and Scapegoat. And like, they wanted me to be this like monster. And the only way they could do that was to edit me and get me to, say horrible things about me. Cause like, I'm not that person, I'm not like this person who like plays with hearts. And so it was hard.
So then how do you find that I know we talked about this a little bit in Denver, but how do you find that then impacted you post Paradise in dating and in your sexual experiences?
I mean, yeah, I think it's changed quite a bit as far as people see me as like, quote unquote, a fuckboy, which I don't even know what that really is. I don't know if that means, I've always thought a fuckboy was somebody who did play with hearts and like had multiple relationships almost. That's what I imagine.
He fucks around with your feelings.
Yes, exactly. But I always thought of it. But then, everybody has kind of a different definition of that. But yeah, I definitely think women look at me differently now. And it's like I'm not a boyfriend material, I guess, if you will. Like, I feel that a lot. Now, there's some people who still obviously, I've talked to a lot. Most people like our age and younger, are like, wait a minute, like, you just had sex with women who wanted sex at a music festival. Like, that was a big deal, And then you meet other people that are like, your dick's going to fall off because you've had sex with so many girls, that kind of thing. And it's like extremes of just, it's crazy. So.
Yeah. Well, and that really was like the total opposite of what you got after Bachelorette. Mm-hmm. Like, and Bachelorette, you were like hubby material.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was another thing too. And it's a weird transition going from, but it's also, I've talked about this too on some other podcasts, but it's really hard to go from trying to be somebody people think you are, like trying to be this perfect, and I think, a lot of the guys and girls coming off the show, Bachelorette, they're put on this pedestal and then you try and live, up to that standard and it's exhausting and it's really hard. And I did go through some weird times there for a few months right after Bachelorette where I was kind of trying to figure out who I was post Bachelorette. And then I kind of all over again, I had to do that again after Paradise. It was like, well, now do I play into this fuckboy thing? Do I like, it was very hard, and I'm still trying to figure it out as I'm working through, it's been a year like I would have gotten home like 2 weeks ago from Paradise.
Yep.
So it's been a year, and I'm still going to therapy and trying to like figure out, like how to navigate dating now and stuff.
Yeah. I'm really happy that you just said therapy because I was thinking back to our Denver conversation too. And I was like, I want to make sure we talk about therapy.
Yeah.
So can you share just a little bit about like what your relationship has been like with therapy?
Yeah. I'd love to. So I was always one of those people growing up and even, into my late 20s where I thought more or less like, panic attacks, anxiety, like depression, that was all just nonsense, like rub dirt on it, get back up, get back in the game kind of thing. And then I went into a deep depression. Before the airing, so after the filming and then before the airing and during the airing of Paradise, I couldn't even get out of bed. Like I was in such a dark place. I just felt like the whole world was caving in on me, and people I had trusted and, kind of thought were my friends. Everybody kind of used me and stabbed me in the back and set me up and like all these things. And so it was really hard for me. I literally couldn't get out of bed. I gained like 20 pounds. Yeah. It was really, really hard for me. And I decided, you know what, like, this is real. Like, this isn't, this isn't some kind of, like, I can't rub dirt on this. I need help.
Yeah.
So I reached out, went to a couple different, I think that's important too. Like one therapist, if you go to one therapist and it doesn't work, that doesn't mean therapy doesn't work. So I went to like a few different therapists, finally found an awesome one, and I think it helped. She didn't know who I was, but she knew of the show and how, publicly, what I was going through publicly. But she was incredible. She's been incredible. And I just slowly, and I think that's the biggest thing, is it doesn't happen overnight. Yep. It takes time. I remember I would just take like walks around the block because I remember I took a jog one day and I was so sore the next day because I hadn't gotten out of bed. So just like little bits of exercise, keeping, staying healthy, eating right, slowly getting my mind back to where I wanted it to be and being able to like look at myself in the mirror. And yeah, I feel, I definitely think I'll never be back to that person I was before, but that's okay. I don't know if I want to go back to that guy. So, I'm like still working on it every day. I have my good days, my bad days still, but everybody does. And so I just find, and I think therapy with men, the stigma around therapy with men is just like horrible. Cause I still run into it, with some of my friends. And I'm like, of course, they've never really been anything through like really horribly, especially in the public eye and gone through these kind of checks. I don't expect them to necessarily understand. But I think it's going in the right direction. I think our culture is slowly, Kevin Love just won like I can't think of the name of the award in the NBA, and it's like the humanitarian award or whatever. And that's because he talked about mental health in public. 3, 4, 5 years ago, never, he would have been laughed at, So I think we're moving in the right direction, but we still got a long way to go. So.
Yeah. Totally. And it takes just even small conversations like this to kind of help break down that stigma to just have it be more normalized, honestly. I'm wondering, you said, you don't know that you'll ever go back to that guy like before the show. And, certainly you'll be a different version of that. But what would you say is different today about you versus that guy?
I think I've always been a pretty empathetic person, but I think I am incredibly empathetic now when it comes to other people's, what they're going through. I think the saying is something, more or less like the tip of the iceberg, like what you see above the water versus what they're going through. And so I just always imagine, especially a lot of the people in the public eye and people in Bachelor Nation, and what you see, trust me, is not what, they're going through. Even like big time celebrities and like all these people who you look to as a kid or a child, athletes, like now I know more than ever, like what they're going through privately is really, really hard, and what they're going through. And so I think I'm definitely a more empathetic person now, and I can kind of see, like when I meet somebody, a stranger on the street, like I always try, like you always be nice to them, because they could be going through something privately that you have no idea about. Because I can put on a straight face sometimes. I can put on that face that I'm okay, but deep down, I know that I'm struggling. So I guess that's kind of who I am now when I took away from that.
Yeah, you are like a very happy, like smiley guy. And I feel like that would be a very like vulnerable, special place to share with you, to see you like not be that happy, smiley guy.
Yeah. It's not a fun sight. Cause I try and always, just around other people. Like I often feel, I don't want to be like like a burden almost. Like I always try to make people smile and laugh, because I don't want people to be like, oh, what's the matter? Like, no, don't worry about me. Worry about you. Like, so I always try and like put, make people smile and laugh. But yeah, privately sometimes that doesn't mean I'm doing that. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. Because your feelings are not a burden.
Yeah, exactly. Amen.
Yeah. And the people that really care about you and love you, like they're happy to hold that space with you and to make sure that you have a space for that.
Yeah. And I would say, I get asked a lot, like what, other than therapy and things, like what helped you get through, what you were going through. And honestly, it was sometimes people ask me, like, my friend's depressed. What can I do? I'm like, honestly, just listen. Like, don't even try and like, don't try and fix them, save them, whatever. Like, just listen. Because sometimes you just need like a sounding board, if you will, and figure things out along the way by your, on your own, as you like speak it out and talk about it out loud. So that's what I always say. Just be there for someone.
Yeah. Now, I'm wondering, like, you've been in therapy, that seems to be super helping, and like you're really focusing on yourself. You're DJing a lot. Like I remember when we met up in Denver, you were so amped up about DJing, and I was like, he means business with this. Like he's dead serious. And I liked that, because I was like, I feel like we have similar vibes and how much like we love music. But you've been like getting back at that a little bit slowly. Yeah, everything kind of shut down again. I got one gig in, completely all social distance and all that. It was actually really well done. And it was fun. It was just fun to get back out there. I love like making people smile and laugh and dance. And so it was like, I never thought it'd be something that I'd do.
but I have become pretty passionate about it, and I love doing it. And unfortunately, COVID put a real damper on that career path. But I'm hoping to get back at it here soon, safely and everything, once everything is kind of opening back up. But yeah, it's just an outlet for me, I guess, if you will, when it comes to like being up there and like watching people enjoy something you enjoy doing so much too, so it's a cool thing. Yeah. It's something like I said, I never thought it'd be something I'd be doing. And I almost cause I still get, people laughing and like, oh, now you're a DJ. Like, oh, cool. You go on reality TV and now you're a DJ.
Like, okay, you're not a fuckboy and you're going to be a DJ.
That too. Yeah. And I'm like, I get it. Like, I know how ridiculous it sounds. But then they actually go to like one of my shows, and my favorite thing is like, damn, they come up to you like, damn it, that was actually pretty good. I'm like, yes, like I turned another one, So yeah, it's a fun thing. And I almost was too afraid, sometimes you let fear. I didn't want the hate. I didn't want the hate to, and like all that. But I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad. I literally was just like sink or swim. It was like, let's do this. I signed with a label, and they were like, we're going to start booking you, so you better learn like really how to do this. So I did, and so didn't want to make a fool of myself up there. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't let fear drive me. Thank God. I'm glad I did.
You totally have to say fuck it to all the haters and literally do whatever it is that's bringing you joy. I'm like, at first when I started talking about vibrators and like sex and shit, people are upset and they're like, you shouldn't be talking about this. Like that's supposed to be private. And I'm like, fuck that. It makes me happy to talk about.
Oh, yeah,
and I don't know why. Maybe my brain is just in sex today. I watched like a very sexy movie last night, but and Your Time on Paradise. But I'm like hearing maybe a little bit of a theme of like focusing on other people's pleasure or like people pleasing, maybe. For you, where, you always want to put a smile on people's face and like, DJing, like it just makes you so happy, like to see other people happy. I'm wondering if that transitions into like your sexual experiences, but also like where does the focus come in on Blake's pleasure?
Well, that is the problem. I think I put other people first so often, and in every facet of my life. I think sometimes I do forget about like my happiness, and I do forget sometimes about like what I'm doing for myself rather than what I'm doing for other people. And I think that was something that I definitely did learn what I went through in Paradise, because I realized like the reason the producers were able to take advantage of me was because I wanted to please the producers, and I was very naive and very doe-eyed going into Paradise. I trusted everyone and everything, and it bit me in the ass. And I don't necessarily want to like not be that person. Like I still do want to trust people until, I can't anymore. I don't anymore. But I don't want to become like a pessimistic cynic. And that's something I've like actually tried like consciously not to be, because it could be very easy for me, I think, to be that, especially when it comes to the show. But I guess I'm trying not to be the person that the producers kind of wanted to turn me into. I'm not going to be that person. And it's not more of like, well, it kind of is like a fuck you to the producers in the show in a way too. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to let you guys destroy me, and I'm still going to put a smile on my face and still going to be that person I was before, even though it did kind of bite me in the ass. And I've also learned though to not be quite as, I need to think about myself, put myself first sometimes rather than other people's wants and needs.
Yeah, definitely. So with all of that said, though, would you actually ever entertain going back on Paradise?
I get asked this so often. Honestly, I don't think even if I was to entertain even the idea, like, I don't know what I could get out of it. I don't
well,
think
hopefully a relationship is the point.
That would be but I don't think I could be myself. Like, I don't think I could go down there and actually be myself and find somebody, because I think everything the producers would tell me, I would just be like, not myself. And I'd be very guarded, and I have all my walls up all the time. And I saw that with Christina when we were down there, because that was her second time around. And I remember her walls were just completely, and now I don't blame her. At the time I was like, stop, like you're being over dramatic, and I was like, quit it. But now, I get it. I could see why going down there a second time would be so difficult to like be yourself and have your walls down. Because that process doesn't work if your walls are up. It doesn't. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable and open. And I just don't know if I could do it again. And I don't know if they'd want me because I have talked shit about the show a lot. So I don't know. I don't think they are big fans of me. No.
I feel like they probably still would want you. And I think other girls like from past seasons or from newer seasons even probably would still be interested in you to where I feel like they would ask you. Maybe not like this next coming season, but I feel like in the future they...
Probably. I mean, they don't anything to get those viewers, They probably, even if they send me down.
Yep.
Fourth day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're single even, then that would be something that you would consider. Are you like dating now? Yeah, I am dating. I'm kind of seeing somebody right now. It's we're going slow and everything, that kind of thing. Yeah. Keeping it private. But yeah, I mean, I'm in a good place, I think, right now in my life, to where I have decided, you know what, I'm gonna get back out there and see what I can see if I can find somebody. I remember when we were in Denver, I was asking you or telling you, I don't even know, but I was like, I feel like it's got to be impossible for you to even like sext with people. Like, how do you even like? I was like,
super scary.
Yeah. But I was like, I don't feel like I would want to be in your shoes because dating would just feel so difficult. I mean, like for the girls coming off the show, it's a very different story than it is for the guys dating post show, especially with the storyline that you had.
Yeah. And it did feel like in Paradise that I did by some women, like I did get taken advantage of a little bit, I mean, I don't want to say that I did, but it felt that way when I was down there. And so I came off Paradise even more like scared, to like, because it was like they also, even people in Bachelor Nation used me to get ahead in Bachelor Nation. And I was like, it was like a really hard thing. So it was like, imagine, just a rate, like my friends always call, this isn't a mean thing, but like me and all my friends, we call like people who aren't in Bachelor Nation wildlings because we're like Game of Thrones fans. They call them wildlings. And that's a compliment. Because they're free people. That's a compliment. Free people.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. The wildlings.
The wildlings. So, like, if I find a wildling, like, is she gonna like use me? I don't know. So it was like, but I think I've gotten past that. Like, I think I've like gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? Like, I have to learn to trust again because
you made it through the wildlings to who you are with now.
Yeah, like I can't live that way in fear. So I guess I'm back out there, and I'm just you gotta eventually forgive and forget, and try and do it to find anybody.
So I mean, is this like exclusively dating, or is this like intentional conversations around the fact that it's open, or you're still like, interested in exploring other people?
Yeah. So right now it's one of those things where and this was even me before The Bachelorette, like I would jump into a relationship fast. It'd be like, I'd meet somebody and be like, okay, here we go. Like, boom, I'm in a relationship.
So you're perfect for the show.
I know, it's like they knew. I do fall fast. I fall hard. I fall fast. So I'm trying to, I guess, navigate this in a different way and do this differently instead of doing that. And maybe it'll be a different outcome, I guess. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Because I do. Usually I go in hard. Either I get scared or she gets scared. It's like this whole thing, So I'm trying to do this one a little bit different.
Yeah. Feelings are very scary. That's for sure. They can be. They're exciting, but then you're also like, I'm going to shit myself. Like, what's happening?
Exactly right. So
totally understandable. Yeah. I mean, knowing that you used to just kind of jump straight into relationships and be like all in, I imagine it feels a bit different to be taking this really slow and maybe not like jumping right into exclusivity. Do you still feel like you're desiring, or I don't want to ask you that question. Like, I'm not trying to get you in trouble. But do you feel like there's good communication around this being an open conversation of like, it being very clear that like we're not monogamously together right now, but that like you're working towards that?
Yes. We have plenty of conversations around that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been like, conversations for that exact purpose. Like, it's not like we've just like suddenly talked about it. It's like, let's talk about this openly because So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah. So then I imagine like you're not super sad about Stagecoach being canceled this year then, because it's working out for you.
No, that was probably a good thing. Except, actually I was supposed to DJ at it. So no, I'm a little bummed. It would have been like a whole,
That's right.
Would have been a cool full circle thing. I would have had a tent and everything, and so that would have been fun. But next year, 2021, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I'm not even a huge country person, but I was gonna go. Like, there was a partnership, and I was like, well, try to stay open to new opportunities. Maybe I'll come out of this liking country music. I don't know.
The environment in itself is really fun. Everybody's just having a good time. It's just, you've been to Coachella, right?
Yeah, and I've fucked with Coachella hard because it's like musicians I really love and I listen to. And I feel like in Denver you were trying to get me on like the country music train, but then like I was showing you my music and I was like, mine's really good.
You probably wouldn't have liked the music as much as probably Coachella or anything, but you would have had fun still.
Yeah, I'm sure I would have. I so was not expecting you to actually say that you were like kind of dating someone right now, but that makes me really happy for you because through everything, even though we've only met once too, I'm like, at heart, like I think you're a good person, you're a good guy, and we all have really difficult experiences on the show at some point or another, and so that makes my heart like so happy for you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, it's sort of fun. Like I said, I'm finally come to the point where I'm like happy with where I am as a person. So now I'm like, what, let's see if we can, find somebody out there. So
yeah. Do you see yourself like dating someone publicly again? That like the thought of that terrifies me.
Me too. I just got like my heart started beating. My heartbeat just.
I'm like, sorry, you're like not even in like a committed monogamous exclusive relationship, and I'm like, so what about dating publicly?
I would definitely wait until it's like I am sure, because I wouldn't want to put her through it either. I would not want to put somebody through dating in the public eye because it is the hardest thing ever. So, to have everybody else's opinion in your relationship's not easy.
Yeah. And I go back and forth on this. And this is something like a few months ago, probably like towards the end of 2019, I really tried to push myself to be really honest about because it's hard. It is so much pressure to date people publicly. But then it's also like, is there space to share the gray area is what I question myself with, because all we ever see are these like happy, committed, like just totally happy relationships, right? And it's like, well, what if we shared and people saw more of that in between? Then would there be less pressure on it being this like, here's the, exclusive on my new relationship, when it's like, can people in the public eye feel comfortable being authentic and sharing, even when there may not be a guarantee of commitment or of a long-term relationship?
Yeah, that is a good question because that's so hard. Because I think, obviously, we think very similarly when it comes to that kind of stuff. I think that should be, the gray area should be something to discuss. But I think the woman would get more hate than, I would, for sure. I think the woman would get the whole, oh my God. Speaking of your post that you had, your sexcation that you had, and I accidentally liked the wrong freaking, literally my nightmare came true. God. Okay.
Yeah, no, we need to talk about that. I totally forgot about that.
Nightmare. Oh God.
Yeah. So I shared my recent sexcation with Toronto Lover, and someone had commented of like, oh, like you're being used, whatever.
To that effect, You're quit giving it free and they won't, or something like that. It was like something.
Yeah. And someone had like commented at Blake, like, why would you like this? And then I was getting like, people were screenshotting it and DMing it to me. And then someone even sent me like a link in my DM. I think it was like to a Reddit or something of like the fact that you had liked this comment. And I was like, hold on. So I like texted you and I was like, did you mean to like this? Like, should we talk about this?
I was like, oh God. I like panicked. I was literally like out for dinner, I think. And I was like, oh God, this is my nightmare. And I like went back and I was like, oh my, because I liked one of the comments under that comment calling that person out. But I think I accidentally liked both or something. And I was like, oh God. But that's what I would be afraid of. Like this gray area would be the woman would get a ton of hate, which you had a couple comments in there that were like, exactly like he's using you, blah, 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 one of those, a lot of those. So yes, so, I mean, I'm glad you were able to like post about it. You did post about it and like you embraced it. But it's, you're brave because it's not easy. It is not
I might just be a little crazy. But
you need a little of both. You have to be brave and crazy.
You do.
So you get things changed.
Totally. But I will say it is different because with it being a female and having a majority female following, I'm going to get different reactions than you being a male having majority female following who want to bang you and have babies with you, seeing you with another woman. It's different, like viewers of the show who are women much easily, I don't know if that was a right sentence, but they will jump to like attack and shame and judge women way quicker than they will men.
If I have learned like one thing through all of this is that women are so mean to other women. It's incredible. I didn't know that was like, I thought it was all like, women empowerment. And no, it's like women will tear down other women at, any chance they get a lot of times. And that's been an eye opener for me. I'm like, oh my God, like women can be very mean to other women. So that would be hard.
And I mean, you totally have a very valid point in this too, of like it being hard for her. So like, even when I do share Toronto Lover, I don't like share his face and I'm not like, this is his name. Like, again, until something does feel really like solid, that's when that would be a conversation because it changes their lives as well. That's a big decision. Yeah,
it changes. That's exactly right. It changes. I mean, I think this is a bit of an extreme example, but I mean, Jess, Ben's fiance, it changed her life like overnight, like she's now like, anytime I go to Nashville and I like mention that I was in there, she's like, oh, do you know Jess? Like Ben's, fiance? It's like this whole thing, so it changed her life overnight. And I'm sure they had to have a lot of conversations about, it's like, okay, like I'm going to explain this to you, but you're not going to understand it until it happens. Like, she gained like 6-figure followers overnight. Like, so it's, it can change people's lives like pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm excited to see where this goes for you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I do sincerely hope, please do. If you have any like sex questions, let me know. It's my favorite thing to talk about. But I do sincerely hope too that you can kind of through this process make sure that your needs and your wants are being met as well. I don't think that this had like hit me as much when we were in Denver, but this like people pleasing thing, I'm like, okay, but also like your needs are important too. Like, are people making you smile,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely something I even knew probably, going into the show. I'm a bit of a people pleaser. I need to stop doing that so much, so part of the growing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you being vulnerable and actually sharing about that. Again, you'll have my support and all the positive vibes. Is there anything coming up for you? Are you going to be like DJing anywhere? You're in Colorado back again there now?
Yeah. I'm in Denver. Yeah, I'm in Denver. To be honest, not really right now. It's driving me absolutely crazy because like I'm a very goal oriented person too. So like I look forward to things and like work towards things, and there's like nothing to look forward to or to work forward towards right now. So no, nothing on the docket right now, but hopefully, I don't know, hopefully soon. Everything's closing back down. Like there was a little light at the end of the tunnel, and now not so much. So we'll see. Hopefully by the time, I mean, I guess the only thing I look forward to is the Bachelorette starting, and then maybe and that's sad. That is sad that's literally what I have to look forward to as far as like things I can do. Like I'll do my Bachelorette recaps, guys, in 2 months.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, like you do those on your Instagram stories and you're very animated in those.
They're fun to do. I love doing that because people reply with the best stuff. It's great. It's fun.
Yeah. I know. I don't know that I'll be commenting on Claire's seasons at all, but I know I will obviously have a lot of things to say about Matt's season. Are you planning on watching that?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm going to be, I've never met Matt, but I think it's going to be interesting too with COVID and like because I heard he's not traveling international. Like it's just going to be a very different all around vibe for both seasons. So
super. It's for traveling and being like long distance relationships, dating. It's all such a strange time. I take it your person's in Colorado?
No, actually.
Oh shit.
It's not. Yeah. A lot of Zoom. But I was thinking this too. I don't know. I'm backing up a little bit for Claire's season. Like, I don't know about you, but when you're on the Bachelor, like traveling was almost like a relaxing time because there weren't cameras around and you could like hang out with your friends. And they're not doing that. Like they're going to be for 5 weeks. They're going to lose their minds. These poor men are going to lose it. It's going to be the most dramatic season. It's going to be hard for these guys. It is.
Okay, new Chris Harrison.
Throwing my name in the ring. No, it's going to be hard for them. So
no, I only traveled Louisiana and Wisconsin. Fantastic times, real fun. But no, like actually like the travel days where you do get to kind of like relax a bit and you're not doing these like ITMs and it's not super emotional. Like those were some fun days. Like we had actually a dance party one night in Louisiana, and I was like, music. I was like, we get to dance and listen to music.
Oh, yes, music. That's so crazy to think what we did. What were we thinking going on the fucking show?
I don't know, Blake. We were wildlings, and then we went and did something just even more wild and out of this world.
I know.
It's crazy. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know you said earlier, you know, and I think I've talked about this a little bit before too, just that like Friends and Bachelor Nation can be very difficult because it does become a little bit of a popularity contest. And, you know, thankfully I've got Vanessa as like my day one boo who like I trust with my life. But it
Jason
can be really hard.
Vanessa. Yeah, Jason is my Vanessa. Me and Jason, you and Vanessa, that's how it is. Yeah. Day one-er. Yeah, exactly.
But I am happy that it does get to, you know, introduce me to people like you and we can have cool conversations, and I hope, you know, I do have your back and support you and, you know that it was a rough time and love that you're open. Like we've more in common than I thought we would, honestly. Like before meeting you, I was like, I don't fuck with this guy. Like
I remember you saying that when we met. You were like,
I did?
You're surprising me. Yeah, you were. I remember you being like, you're not what I expected. I was like, yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah, you definitely weren't what I had expected. So it was a pleasant surprise. And yeah, always have my support and appreciate you.
And I love what you're doing.
Vulnerable.
I love what you're doing, being open and vulnerable about sex and all that kind of stuff. So keep it up.
You do? Do you think I'm like out of my mind over here?
Yeah, but like I said, you got to be a little bit out of your mind to make a difference. So
This is true. So I'm curious before we end, if there's anything I've shared that you've learned or anything that has stuck out to you that I have shared that you've like tried out or that taught you something. Anything.
I can't think of anything in particular, but I mean, I think like we kind of talked about earlier, but I think the coolest thing you are currently doing still is you're embracing like the art of casual sex. Like you're embracing that and you're not villainizing it, where especially in Bachelor Nation with the audience and the, you know, the middle America, like kind of audience and everything, that is, sex can be, you know, kind of like looked at as like a horrible thing. And like, you know, so I think what you're doing with that, I think you are opening people's minds. So which is awesome. Needs to be more people like you. So
thank you. So nice.
You're welcome.
There you go. Great. Put a smile on my face.
Yes. Good day.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This is your first time on the pod, but, you know, hopefully have you on again in the future. Can you share a little bit about kind of where people can find you?
Yeah. Pretty much on Instagram at balake.h on Instagram. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Keep an eye out. I'm going to be releasing some like some of my remixes and everything here soon, hopefully. So I'm going to make sure I got a nice cue before I release some. So yeah.
Some remixes.
Some remixes. Yeah. So, and keep an eye out for the Bachelorette recaps and Bachelor recaps. I need that engagement, guys.
He's got to get these sponsorships, y'all.
Guys, I need this engagement.
Oh my God, I'm dead. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me, Taylor.
All right, that does it for today's episode. Thank you so much for making it all the way through and keeping your ears, your hearts, and your minds open. It would mean so much to me if you could take a second or two after listening to this episode to leave a review on iTunes and let me know what you're enjoying about the show. I love reading, what your favorite episodes are, where you guys listen, and definitely feel free to share this with a friend. I mean, part of how we break down the stigmas around these topics is by talking about them, right? And sharing them with more people. So definitely share the podcast. And again, really wanting to include all of you in this podcast. So if you have questions or you want to share a thought or an experience, please send in a voice memo to ask.letstalkaboutit@gmail.com. And I'm really excited to keep having these conversations and breaking down these stigmas. So thank you all so much. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and I'll talk to you next time.